Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor. Welcome to Monday Magic Intuitive Energy Reading, where I give my take on how I am experiencing the energies, how this past week went, and what our guidance is for how we move forward into next week or this week. It's been an interesting week for sure, to say the least. Things are finally picking up as far as momentum. We had a pretty much slow start to the new year, but things have definitely started to pick up from an interesting, it's interesting from a solar perspective that the geomagnetics have been quiet for almost 2 full weeks now, which has been unusual for the recent past. And we also had a dip in this Schumann resonance activity as well. So it's fascinating to see how geomagnetics can decline while the unmeasurables increase. We, of course, had the Pluto transgress into or ingress into Aquarius this week, which was amazing. It was interesting because sort of the earlier parts of last week, there was a strong feeling of hopefulness and good things are coming and lots to look forward to. And I'm getting a strong sense that there is something beautiful and amazing coming for the collective, not just for me individually, but there is something really, really big. Huge is the word that I put on my notes. Just around the corner. So that is coming. And that was very palpable earlier last week. And then as we got into Thursday-ish, Friday, getting closer to that movement of the sun joining Pluto as it moved into Aquarius, things did start to feel a little bit heavier. We got kind of that sandpapery feel where we feel sort of the resistance or the heaviness of the planet in play. But regardless, it still feels promising. It still feels like whatever is coming is unstoppable. So we also are dealing with the full moon, the Leo full moon coming on the 21st, or I'm sorry, the 25th, as well as Uranus moving direct on the 27th. So this week will continue to be big and powerful. The movement to Pluto is very, very slow. So it is pretty much on the cusp of both Capricorn and Aquarius, and it does not move quickly. So this is a longer extended feeling or experience for us. Whatever that thing is that is coming, it's interesting because it feels like it's going to make all of the struggle worth it. Everything that we've gone through, whether it was just the last 15 years or our entire lives, for some of us, it's going to make everything feel worth it. And that was a very promising message of hope this morning to receive that this sharpening that we have been going through, the testing, it's helping us to learn how to use our magic, learn how to wield our power, and the reward will be greater than we ever could have imagined. I heard a woman use the phrase, God only elevates us. We are always being leveled up, and no matter what the experience is, no matter how difficult it is always elevating us to the next level. So while we may struggle to see in our external world the evidence of what is coming, it's not quite here yet. This is true from a 3D perspective. The material, it has not materialized into what we can see with our eyes, and yet it is here. The good is here, and it does kind of feel like we're dancing in between worlds. And I want to clarify or just acknowledge the fact that we have had these feelings of testing and sharpening and in between worlds and having feet in two different places, or I don't want to say shaky ground, but rather ground that is not yet solidified. I think of sort of like a quicksand feeling where it doesn't feel solid. And this has been ongoing for the last couple of years, and for many of us for even longer than that. But regardless, the point is that even though we look around us and we don't see the evidence of the good that we know is coming, that we can feel is coming, the energy itself is here. And so it's important to remember that we are constantly creators. We are constantly creating. We are creators. We're creating all the time. And we have to remember that what we see around us is an echo of the past. It is an echo of our energy prior to this, or an echo of our thoughts prior to this. So we want to be diligent, be persistent, be committed, stay in the trust and surrender and the knowing that we are creating beautiful things. and that what we see around us is just an echo of the past, and we can feel into the new. We want to remember that being in between worlds doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable. We want to remember that sometimes when we look out into outer space, the empty space can also be dark matter, which is highly structured and a ripe, I'm thinking of a flower bed. I can't think of the term I'm looking for, but it's the source of creation, right? It's infinite potential. There is still a structure and support in dark matter. And so where infinite potential exists, anything can be created. And so we want to start to shift our perspective. When you look back, previous generations, 5, 10, 20 generations, things were very slow, very consistent, usually always the same. And now things are moving so much faster. We are hitting the spike of the exponential growth curve that nothing is the same. Nothing is ever always, things are always changing. The only constant is change. And so now we in our bodies and our minds must adjust to acknowledge the fact that it's always going to be different. We're always going to be in the unknown because things are moving so quickly. What was yesterday is gone already, and what is coming tomorrow is not yet here. And so living in the discomfort, it doesn't have to be discomfort. We get to choose how we perceive it. We're living in infinite potential. We're living in almost immediate creation, as long as we can get our minds out of the way. For those of us who are logical and practical, I am including myself in this, it can be more difficult because we get so stuck and hung up on buts that we get in the way. We slow things down. Those of us who like to dig up the seed to see if it's growing after we planted it yesterday, we have to go back to square one and start over. So we really want to get used to what I see is not my reality. What I see is not what I'm creating right now. What I am creating is already moving very quickly. I'm not going to dig up that seed. I'm going to remain in trust and faith and surrender. And remember, infinite potential exists. If the creator of the universe created everything that we see and lives in my body because the body is a temple, then there is nothing off limits as long as it's within the divine will. And if the desire was put on your heart, it is safe to trust the desires. It's safe to trust the guidance of the desires of your heart, that God made you with purpose and intention, and it is leading you towards the thing that you are here to do. So all of that being said, I acknowledge today is wonky, more so than it was 2 days ago when Pluto was ingressing, or let's see, where are we at? Today is the 22nd. So it was yesterday, and the 20th. But we're approaching that full moon, so you can start to kind of have that feeling as well. But I really got a strong sense that what we're feeling today, the heaviness, the density, it's, like I said, even stronger than it's been the last couple of days. It feels very much like it is not my own, like it is not our own, that this is a collective heaviness that we're working through. And I'm not a proponent of saying, that thing is out to get me, or that energy is coming from someone who wants to suppress me. I'm not interested in giving my power away, but at the same time, every single person has free will, and there are those out there who want to suppress humanity. And we'll leave it at that. What I'm sensing today with the energy is sort of that feeling of the animal backed into a corner, right? If you think of a wounded animal that's been cornered, it tends to lash out. It is using its last ounces of energy and life to try to survive. And that's very much what this energy today feels like. It feels like that pressing down, that let me throw everything I've got at you to try to keep you from raising into this high vibration. There is something about the goodness that is coming for us that is unstoppable, and yet they've got to at least try. They've got to at least try to stop it. So I don't want to say they as if there's someone out there who has taken away my power and authority over my life, because I am not a proponent or wanting to perpetuate that narrative. I'm going to tell a different story, because in the end, God wins. And no matter what they do, whoever they are, they cannot win. And at the end of the day, I know, because I am one with my creator and cultivating that intimate personal relationship with my creator, I too also will win. And so this is just a blip in time. You can try as much as you want, but the good wins. So let's just remember, the blessings cannot be stopped. We are being asked to transmute and to cleanse in high gear, and it is possible as long as we are committed to that. Nothing can stop us, right? So get really clear on what is yours. Is this yours? I know that I am not in the vein of this energy, so I know it is not mine. And I also know that my brothers and sisters out there are also doing the same work in transmuting and cleansing and cultivating new and beautiful energy. And so we will win. And it really is just a dance or a process of perfecting our balance. I love, thank you to my therapist who used this analogy last week. He's a big yoga person, and I, having gone through yoga teacher training, appreciate this example as well. When you are doing tree pose, you're standing on one leg and you've got the other leg in the triangle on the other side. You're to balance, right? To balance is a process of moving back and forth. We're very rarely just steady and stable. We have good days and bad days, but very rarely are we just solid and never moving. So remembering that balance is that process of back and forth. So even when, difficult things are sent our way and we have to transmute it, we come back to center. Even when really good energy is coming in, you're like flying high, you still have to come back to center, right? So we never want to be too high or too low. And it's okay if we move to one side or the other, we're coming back to center, which brings to mind also the nervous system, right? As you know, I'm very big on trauma spotting and healing your trauma and working with the nervous system in the body. And we have something called the vagus nerve, which runs down the spine along your vocal cords here, which is why humming and singing can be amazing. But it is designed to help us move from activation and rest and digest. And again, it is that process. We don't want to always be in rest and digest. We also need to be in activation sometimes. It is similar to the process of manifestation. And this is why understanding how to utilize trauma spotting and working with the body is so important. Because if we're always activated, we're always in our magnet, or we're always in our masculine, we're always in our electrical, we are not in our feminine and attraction. But we have to have that balance of action, electricity, and rest and digest, feminine magnetism. So just remember, it's okay to move back and forth. Lots of examples to prove that point there, but I give you what comes through. So remember, it is a dance. It is okay to move back and forth. A beautiful, beautiful insight came to me this week. Balance is also grounding. And the term humble came up. And I wanted to understand what is the root? What is the etymology? What is the root of the word humble? And humble led me to humus, Humus, which is also connected to human, as you might guess. And the Latin for humus means dirt or grounding. So it's so fascinating that to be humble is to be human, is to be grounded. And then if you look at what is grounding, grounding is balance. So it brings us back home to remembering it's all about the balance, right? That this process of learning to wield our magic, learning to navigate this life, learning to own our responsibility as creators, and yet be humble in the sense that I am just co-creating, but I'm also co-creating with the creator of the universe, right? I am a child of the creator of the universe, and having balance and humility through that process. That I think it is dangerous to start to say, I am God. That absolutely is dangerous, to assume that you are the highest authority in the universe. And there's people that are going to argue with me about that. And I'm okay with that, because in my heart, in my body, I know the resonance of truth. And I know that I cannot align to that. At the same time, I am one with the creator. The creator lives in me. The body is the temple. And so there is a balance required in that understanding, learning to take responsibility for our co-creative power, remembering that we collectively here on earth are here to help bring about heaven on earth by understanding how to utilize our co-creative ability, right? And that requires learning to balance decisiveness and assertive authority and understanding, and who am I? How valuable am I? What am I capable of? and owning the fact that no one can take that from me unless I give it to them, while also balancing that with surrender, trust, allowing, and co-creative responsibility, right? So let's find new perspective around these moments of challenge, the moments of testing and sharpening, and the moments of bliss and joy, and learn to do the dance. Just like the body's made to do the dance, we want to partner with the body, we want to partner with the nervous system. We want to start to recognize activation is required for this moment. I need to live here for a moment, and then I need to come back to balance. And rest and digest, healing, growth, repair, creation, bliss, joy is required for a moment. Yes, that's where I find my guidance. That's where I find my inspired action to take. And then I need to come back to activation. That we tend to be all or nothing, especially in our collective state of human trauma response right now. We have a tendency to always be activated or to always be at rest. And so we want to learn to really perfect that balance and move in and out of activation, move in and out of creation, move in and out of joy and bliss and sharpening and testing. In any moments, we can shift. And I will bring it home with this. If this heaviness today is challenging for you, as I'm sure it is for many, it is for me, find neutral first. I have a roof over my head. I have water in my pipes. I have heat. I have a blanket that I love to snuggle with. I have gratitude for the things I have. I have everything I need. And I still have that creative power that lives in me and that can never be taken from me. And as I choose to take responsibility for my life and for my role in creating the world that we live in, I choose to remember that what I see in front of me is only an echo of the past, and I am creating heaven on earth. And then once you have kind of come back to balance, then we can start moving into what are we creating? What do we desire in our life? Trusting the guidance of our desires of our heart, and commanding with authority, while also remembering that ultimately our creator is in control and there is a divine plan. We are being lived by life, but at the same time, we can say, it is already done. Thank you. It is already done. Thank you for your promise of protection, safety, love. Thank you. It is already done. Whatever you are able to conjure up in your mind's eye, as long as it is a soul-led creation, it is already done. And you can rest in that fact that it cannot be taken from you. And that feels complete. I love you, my friends. If you are interested in healing your trauma or becoming a trauma healer, I am opening the doors for my 4 times a year cohort of teaching trauma spotting, where you can become a somatic healer and learn to work with the body and the nervous system and help those of us who've experienced a lot of trauma step out of victimhood and into our highest timeline. It is a beautiful modality that has saved the lives of many that I have worked with, and it is an honor and a blessing to be able to offer this to you. We start mid-February. I do this 4 times a year, every quarter, so the doors will close that 3rd week of February and will not be open until later in the summer. So join us. I would love to see you there. Links down below. Otherwise, share and like and subscribe to help support the channel and spread the word. I love you, my friend. Honestly.